Today I'm going to talk to you about mechanical equilibrium. This is the situation where all of the forces are balanced. They're all adding up to zero. And you could think of that as the definition of equilibrium. All of the forces add to zero. This is my standard way of depicting floors and ceilings by drawing a line with a bunch of hashes above it. And I'm hanging from the ceiling something of mass, let's just make up 2 kilograms, and it's hanging from the ceiling from a wire. I can do a free body diagram on it, so I put the dot in the middle, and I ask myself which forces, so let's list out the forces. There's clearly gravity, and gravity points down, which means gravity has to be a negative number because down is the negative direction. The force of gravity is the weight, and so I'll also write it this way. It goes minus W. I can go on and say the force of gravity is, I can get a number because I have a mass of 2 kilograms. And remember, weight is that mass times little g. So you take the mass of 2 kilograms, multiply it by 10, and you have the force of gravity, which is down, hence the negative sign, minus 20 newtons. Newtons just indicated with a capital N. There's another force in here because the mass that's hanging from the wire that's attached to the ceiling is not falling. So there's tension in the wire, F sub T, force of tension. We can find out how much tension there is. I don't have room for the question mark. We will rely on our definition of equilibrium, where all of the forces add up to zero. In fact, let me write it down in a box, make it official. And at the same time, I'm going to put another word in front of equilibrium. Static equilibrium. Let's get a definition here. So all of the forces, and I'll be specific and say all of the forces in each direction add to zero. So you have the x direction, which is by convention horizontal, and the y direction by convention is vertical. But there's this word static. What I mean is things aren't moving, so that thing is clearly sitting still as it hangs from the ceiling. So velocity is also zero. Now we're going to rely on that to answer the question of how much tension is in that wire. So we know the weight is minus 20 newtons. Let's finish our free body diagram. So you have gravity, which goes down and happens to equal minus the weight. The minus sign just because force has direction to it. It's a vector. Force is a vector. There's tension in the wire going up, force of tension. And if the definition of equilibrium is that all of the forces in each direction add to zero, vertical is the direction, here is what I call a solution. You have the tension force and the gravity force, and they have to add to zero. So you could also move the S of G over to the other side, subtract S of G from both sides, and let's put in a number. We figured out that the force of gravity is minus 20. Minus and minus is not minus. So 20 newtons is the tension in the wire that this thing is hanging from. So that's a case of static equilibrium. That thing's not moving, and it's got all the forces adding up to zero. Now I say in each direction in this little definition. So the next question is, what if there's more than one direction? Let's look at that next. So if we have two directions, I'm going to illustrate that by going back to the case of sliding something across the floor. Before I did a table, now I'm going to do a box. So here's how I depict a floor, horizontal line, and I put that little hash marks under it. And let me draw the box. Let's add a hand pushing on the box. So the hand's pushing the box across the floor. I'll just go ahead and sketch all the forces. It's nice to make a list, but eventually you get to where it's so intuitive, you can just start to sketch them as you know them. So let's just brainstorm the forces here. Certainly there's gravity. The box is on the floor, and the floor is pushing up. It's not falling, so you must have a normal force going the other direction. Remember our symbol for normal force, F sub n, for force normal force. Normal force is what you call a support force. It supports the box on the floor. And then the hand is pushing. So you have a pushing force. I'll call it F sub P. And then there's friction. Now I'm not sure how long to make the friction arrow. If the friction arrow is exactly the same length as the pushing force, then what I can say about the box is it is not accelerating. Let's add to this example that we're going to push this box, but not hard enough to make it move. You're pushing, but you're just not pushing with enough strength to get that thing to move. I'm going to draw the friction force coming back here, and what I will point out is I'm making the arrow the same length as the pushing force arrow. However hard I push, friction is resisting that motion effectively. It's doing a good job of making sure I cannot make the box move. So if I push with 10 newtons of force, friction must be resisting with 10 newtons of force. In the opposite direction, friction opposes motion. Two directions means there's a vertical and a horizontal. It's not always vertical and horizontal, by the way. What do we have in the vertical? Normal and gravity. And they have to add to 0. I might go ahead and fill this in a little bit. Gravity is minus the weight. And once we know what the weight is, we can figure that out. Let's give it a weight. So let's just go ahead and say the weight of this box is 5 newtons. Remember, newtons is a unit of weight. Force and weight are both newtons, because weight is a force. So that would mean that the normal force is figured out. Subtract 5 from something, you get 0. That something must be 5. Hey, we figured out something and we weren't even being asked what it is. Let's look at the horizontal. Let's figure out the force of the friction. To do that, we would need to know the pushing force. So say you push with, I'll make something up for me here. So we'll call F sub P, 1 newton. So I apply 1 newton of force with my hand. Now in the horizontal, you have the pushing force plus the friction force, and that has to equal 0. And if I just said that the pushing force is 1 newton, apparently the friction force is minus 1 newton. So you apply 1 newton of force with your hand trying to make the box move. It does not move because friction is having no trouble coming up with the 1 newton to resist you. Eventually, you overpower friction, but you're not overpowering friction yet if the box isn't moving. So that's static equilibrium. Static equilibrium is the case where things are not moving. So suppose the box is moving. Well, then it's less clear if it's in equilibrium. But if the box is moving and it's not accelerating, then it's still in equilibrium. It's in dynamic equilibrium. This is my abbreviation for equilibrium, EQM. So I'll define it here. All forces add to 0 in each direction. And when all forces add to 0, this will be the case. This is Newton's second law. We'll get to it. When that's the case, then the acceleration is 0. So the acceleration is 0. I'll put meters per second squared so you remember that A means acceleration. But velocity is not equal to 0. Now something I would say about static and dynamic equilibrium is they are essentially the same thing. Except that in dynamic equilibrium you're moving. But in both cases there's no acceleration. The treatment is exactly the same. So let's do this illustration. Back to the box on the floor. And let's sketch in the forces. And again, it's nice to make a list, but if you can go ahead and think about what all the forces are, you can go ahead and just sketch them in the free body diagram. There's gravity, which is always minus the weight. There's the normal force, which in this situation still, it's canceling gravity. So it's the support force that prevents the block from falling through the floor. And you're pushing. There's friction. Here's our illustration, our example. We're going to push just hard enough to keep the box moving. Now you do this all the time. So at steady velocity, steady speed. So we'll just keep it going at one constant speed. You do that. You push things across the floor and you keep the speed constant. Your brain is an excellent computer. Every time you push something across the floor at constant speed, the computational power of your brain to keep that in equilibrium is pretty impressive. So you're going to push this across the floor. Let's see what the case is. Then if there's no acceleration, that means you're in dynamic equilibrium. So the forces still have to add up to 0. In the horizontal, I'll abbreviate that way, the normal force plus the gravity force has to equal 0. And in the vertical, I'll abbreviate it that way since I keep spelling it wrong, the pushing force plus the friction force still has to add up to 0. However, if you were to push the box a little bit harder, then it will start to accelerate and it is no longer in dynamic equilibrium. Let me make that point. Push harder or less hard, and then it slows down. But if you push harder, then acceleration won't be 0, not in dynamic equilibrium anymore. So we will cover that case when we get to Newton's second law. I want to tell you about one more kind of force. We've talked about normal force, friction force, pushing force, gravitational force. How about buoyancy? This is a thing you encounter every time you go swimming. Buoyant force, I'll call it that, the buoyant force is the force of floating. If you float, it's only because that buoyant force is ensuring you float. Here's our illustration of floating beach ball. The word buoyant starts out with B-U-O-Y, like buoy. Buoys are these floating objects out in the water. Buoyancy is a more general term just for the ability to float. Let's look at the forces that we have here. There's always gravity. Even when you're floating, there's still gravity. You're not weightless when you float. There is still gravity. It equals minus your weight. But you're floating. You're not sinking. So there has to be an upward force that's keeping you at the surface of the water. I hope you followed that this is the surface of water that this thing's floating in. And I'll call it F sub B. Let's go ahead and list out the forces, since we do have a new one here. There's gravity. And there's the buoyant force. And we'll indicate it with F sub B. And it is pointing upward because it is opposing gravity and keeping you up there. So if I want to write out what static equilibrium tells you, because in this case it's in static equilibrium, the ball is not going up, it's not going down, it's just there. The forces have to add up to 0, meaning the buoyant force is minus the gravitational force, and gravitational force is minus W, so minus W is just W. The buoyant force is the weight. So if, for example, the weight, I don't know how much a beach ball weighs, let's say 0.1 Newton, it's probably less than that even. But if the weight is 0.1 Newton, then the buoyant force is 0.1 Newton. Or if the buoyant force is 0.1 Newton, then the weight is 0.1 Newton. Now we talked about 2 dimensions. Now let me tell you a little bit about more complication that can come along in 2 dimensions, because not everything is in X and not everything is in Y. So you might have forces which are applied at an angle back to the floor. So let's push the box on the floor like this. You literally put your hand right there at the corner of the box and you push at that angle. So I'm applying my pushing. I'll write the word push here because this is not part of the free body diagram. I like to put a dot in the center and draw the forces there. We'll do that. So this dashed line is just the horizontal, and I'll indicate an angle. For the time being, we will leave it as a variable. You know, we use the Greek theta to mean angle. That's the variable that I often use for angle. If that's not clear, that's theta. Pronounced theta. It's a Greek letter, lowercase Greek letter theta, and it's usually the variable for angle. Let's draw in some forces. So you have gravity, which equals minus the weight. Now you're pushing at this angle theta. I am going to depict it over here. and I'll call it f sub p. Now there's this angle theta. Let's get that depicted here. If this angle is theta, do you recognize that this angle is exactly the same? If it's not clear, imagine this angle goes to 0, in which case you're pushing along the horizontal. Then I'll draw this push force along the horizontal. So whatever angle this is, that one is. If you are pushing to the left, then you have friction to the right for sure. Now I'm going to draw the normal force. This is where things get a little interesting. Look how long I made the arrow. It's longer than the gravity force arrow. The reason why is because it's also a contribution from the pushing. When you push like this on the box, you're pushing the box onto the floor. Imagine a scale underneath the box. As you push down, that scale is going to read an unnaturally higher weight, but that would be the normal force. So the force with which the floor is being forced to push back goes up as you push down on the box. So that's how I would draw it. So you have extra push. Some of this push is horizontal and it results in the box moving forward. So let me ask you this question. If I push at a larger angle, how much harder do I have to push if I want to make the box go forward? So how hard do I push as theta increases? Here's some shorthand for you. For those of you who take notes, should be all of you. Do you recognize by looking at the picture that if I push at a larger angle and I want the box to move forward, I need to push harder. If I increase theta, I need to push harder. So I'll just write harder. You know, just look at the extremes. Suppose there's my box on the floor, and say I'm pushing down like almost at a vertical angle, you know, a very large theta, almost 90 degrees. Do you see how you would have to be extremely strong to make the box move forward in that case? So when forces are applied at an angle, they have to be larger in order to get their job done. Keep that in mind. When forces are applied at an angle, they need to be larger in order to get their job done. Okay, now you should be able to go ahead and do the formative assessment assignment.